My name is Tony Silva. I want to talk to you today about parrot breeding. Many parrots in the wild utilize peculiar nesting sites. Patagonian conures nest in cliff faces. The Bahamian parrot on the island of Abaco nests in subterranean solutions. And conures and Burgera's parakeets nest primarily in termite mounds. These things. They select a living termite mound on a tree and they tunnel. They make a C-shaped entrance, and then at the end of that C, there is a nesting chamber. After they've dug out the termite mound, they abandon the cavity so that the termites seal the walls. This is why many species have a short brooding period, because the heat generated by the termites keeps the chicks warm. In captivity, many parrots will reject a standard nest box. So what we have to do is we have to modify it. And what we do is we modify it to induce them to look at it and replicate a termite mound. And that's quite easy. We take sheets of cork and we take a glue. I like Elmer's glue because it's safe. Kids can eat it. It doesn't make them sick. And what we're going to do is we're going to glue the sheets of cork together. And then we're going to create a block. We then insert that block inside the nesting cavity, all the way to the top. So we may create several blocks, that one goes on top of the other. The birds will then excavate, and the similarity of cork is great compared to termite mounds. There's a lot of texture, there's a lot of similitudes between them. When the birds dig a hole, obviously, you're going to have a solid block. So what you do is once they're done nesting, you open up the nest and you cut a square. That square will give you access to the nesting chamber. Since it's closed, you can continue to monitor. If you want, you can also glue the section that you've cut out to the door. For other parrots, what we do is we take a standard nest, but we make it attractive. We add pieces of wood. This is from a eucalypt that we recently cut down. You fill that up to the top. If you have perches, you can take perches that have fallen, that are a bit too short. Don't discard them. Recycle them by cutting them up and adding them into a nest. Why is this important? Parrots are stimulated sexually by darkness. If you fill up the nest with chunks of wood, they have to work at it. They have to grind this wood up. They have to chew it up and kick it out so that they can create a nesting chamber. That activity, one, changes the focus of the male from the female to preparing the nest. Aggression from the part of the male towards the female is going to be less. The second important point is that they work together and strengthen that pair bond. And thirdly, the darkness and the activity induces the gonads to swell and for the birds to become sexually active. It is very important that we stimulate the birds into nesting. They just don't breed by giving them a nest and doing nothing else. We have to encourage them. We have to stimulate them by working with a nest. Now, the nest is only one of several elements that are very important in parrot breeding. Another one is diet and supplements. We need to make sure that the diet is rich, that we include vegetables. We want to use very little fruit because they've not evolved to digest a lot of sugar. We want to use supplements. I always recommend adding calcium even to a pelleted diet because the female will have a higher calcium need. We can use many vitamins that stimulate them as well. Fertivit, for example, is quite good. We also want to make sure that the pair is compatible, that they are a genuine male and female, and that they are mature enough to breed. I often hear that, well, my birds have paired off. They're very compatible. They're mating. They're feeding each other. In macaws, it is quite common for homosexual pair bonds to be developed at a young age. The birds will mate. The birds will feed each other, but they're not a pair. We want to make sure we have a pair by genetically sexing them or surgically sexing them. You can waste many, many years in waiting and then realize that both birds were the same sex. So if we encourage the birds, if we work with them, we will achieve the final result, which is breeding. That's all.